Hey there. When it comes to espresso prep, one of the most important aspects of it is the puck prep. And the puck prep is usually a simple thing that has been dissected by the industry into tiny, tiny details of what you could do with that and what you would be improving with that, etc. Now, originally, it all started with the temper. Now, the temper is a piece of metal, usually, could also be plastic, that you use to press onto the coffee. It helps if the coffee that you're pressing onto is leveled, that's why we have levelers, and does not have clumps in it. And that's why we have WDT tools. But the essential part that you have to is to press it into the portafilter. Now, this pressing has been under scrutiny because how you press it actually makes a big difference. If you have some experience and you're pressing perfectly level, that will affect the quality of the coffee you're getting out by a lot. And that's why there are spring-loaded tempers. And these have been very popular in the last couple of years. And here I have the most popular brand, the earlier version and the current version, Normcore spring-loaded temper. Now the differences is that the earlier version used aluminum parts in the center and it would wear off significantly faster. The aluminum parts had very tight tolerances, and because of these tolerances, after a certain number of uses, it could bite into each other and basically cause these scratches in the core or on the outside ring, on the inside of the outside ring, and it's just not as smooth, or it could get stuck. And this one right here is stuck. I am just so confused by it because it's just stuck and it's not moving anymore. And the reason it's stuck is because you just tilt it just like a single degree or two and press hard and it can get stuck. The newer version has a brass and stainless steel core, which is significantly better. Now, the disadvantage of these tempers, also, or the part that doesn't feel so premium, is the tolerances and how much it moves and how it's just not as smooth. And I believe the reason for this is the number of moving parts. Now, let me explain. The older version had the hard spring on the outside and the soft spring in the center, which meant that as you pressed on the portafilter, the soft spring base would be touching the coffee, and then after that spring is compressed, the hard spring on the outside would engage and you'd be pressing down the coffee. On the newer version, you have a softer spring on the outside ring that is on the edge of the portafilter, and the hard spring is in the center. So when you press on the portafilter, first the soft spring engages, again, the soft spring first, and then when you touch the coffee and the soft spring compresses, you are pressing with the hard spring onto the coffee. The principles are pretty much the same, but then again, because of these springs and how they are engaging and where they're sitting and how the parts are interacting with each other, there's a lot of wiggle room. And in the first one, there's not a lot of wiggle room. That's why there's the damage that can be caused. In this video, I will explain to you what I would have done if I were making these tempers or making V5 of the Normcore spring-loaded temper. So here's the improved version of this temper, but let me just focus on the older versions for a second. The older version has the base basically on another pin that's on a soft spring on the inside, so it just moves in, and then when that pin stops on the inside, the outside engages with the harder spring. The newer version has the harder spring on the inside and the softer spring first engages, press it down, and then afterwards the hard spring in the center engages, and with the hard spring you press on to the coffee. Now the issue with that is that the soft spring and the hard spring are moving actually on different parts on the inside, and because of this movement with different parts, there's too many tolerances and too many movements and too many wiggles that can happen. And my improved version actually kind of changes that and makes so that there's only one single moving axis and moving connection, coupling, and everything else is kind of fixed. So we still have two springs But instead of two having two different moving parts, we only have one single movement that is driven by those two springs. Let me explain. Now, first, we are on the portafilter. We are pressing down. As we are pressing down, as you can see here, there's another piece, right? And there are two springs. Again, the soft spring and the hard spring. The soft spring we have on this. So the soft spring we have is actually compressing first. So we push, and there's the hard spring. The hard spring pushes this part with the soft spring. So the soft spring compresses first up to a limit. And after that limit, so we have leveled the coffee for sure with the soft spring, we are pressing with the hard spring, and the hard spring compresses. Now the dimensions of this and when this stops is a trial and error process, or it needs to be further looked at. But the couple of differences here that we have is that this outside piece is stainless steel, right? The inside pin is stainless steel. The base is stainless steel. So we have the three core parts that are stainless steel and that are interconnected, right? We have a larger tolerance here so that there is not just, half of a millimeter in total, but like just 1 millimeter, so half a millimeter on each side, so that there is no possible rubbing of this part and this part with the outside. But we have tighter tolerances with the center, which is a single steel pin of 12 millimeters with these parts, so that these parts are actually tight. So they're not moving, they're not wiggling around, but they're firmly on that single pin, and they're moving just along that axis, not interacting in any other way than the way that is presented here. First, the soft spring compresses here. There's enough space for the soft spring to rest, basically. And then the hard spring engages and is pressed down. Now, of course, there can be changes made to this, but first of all, to save on material costs, I have made the grip smaller. The shaft is a little bit longer, but the shaft is actually quite cheap because it's just this 12 millimeter single shaft cut into pieces, just threaded. The thread here is deeper, so that there's actually not a lot of chances of wiggle and any sort of misalignment of this shaft with the grip. The tolerances of the grip and the center parts are larger so that they don't rub on the outside and mark this brass piece. And the tolerances on the inside are actually tighter so that the movement is quite precise. And when you want to change springs, you basically remove the base, as you do with the current version. And then after you remove the base, you can change two springs. So you can you can change that the first press down is even softer or even harder, and then the second press is even softer and even harder. Right now, the thing that you can calibrate is the second press, so the harder press on all of the previously existing tempers. And I'm not sure if it would make sense to change this, but yeah, you could if you wanted to. And because this has so little moving parts, this would probably never break unless you seriously drop this and damage this. And it looks more premium even in this rendered state. It looks significantly more premium than the existing one because it has a stainless steel grip, stainless steel base, and a brass lip, basically. And this brass lip, I didn't think that it would be looking so cool, but it looks really, really cool. And this is exactly the same design right now. This has not changed at all from the existing one. This is exactly how the existing one looks. And also for the grip, I stuck to the current design of the existing one. But of course, this could be improved as well. Yeah, I hope that someone at Normcore watches this and thinks that this is a cool idea. Thank you for watching. And if you do buy a temper, I actually do recommend the current Normcore. It is quite a nice temper, but you need to understand that it's not going to be the temper you will have forever. I'm not sure if it would survive forever. It's a cool temper, but you know, the aluminum, the anodized aluminum, just doesn't give you the feeling that it's going to survive forever. Just stainless steel is significantly better in this sense, and brass. So yeah, this will be quite cool. Let me know in the comments what you think about this idea, and whether Normcore should do something like this, maybe a pro version of this temper. Thanks for watching.